The military assessment facility was built for demonstrations of defensive capability. Every species seeking council membership had to show they could protect themselves and contribute to galactic security. Usually this involved displaying ships, weapons, protective technology. The council had never seen what the humans were about to show them. The room was stark and functional. Combat simulation equipment lined the walls. Armed guards from multiple species stood at attention, their weapons now openly trained on the human delegation. After the revelations in the council chamber, no one was taking chances. Specialist Jiho Choi stood in the center, wearing a simple combat uniform. She was 28, compact and muscular, with calm eyes that had seen too much for her age. She had trained soldiers. She had fought in Earth's final conflicts before unification. She knew exactly how terrifying humans could be in combat. Ambassador Park sat with the arbiters in the observation area. His face was drawn, exhausted from the constant revelations. Hana and Dr. Lee stood nearby, while Dr. Song prepared her presentation materials. Before Specialist Choi demonstrates, Dr. Lee began, I need to explain something about human combat evolution. Remember, humans are persistence hunters. We chase prey until it collapses. But what happens when the prey fights back? He displayed images of human anatomy. Humans are built for violence. Our fists evolved to punch. Our shoulders can throw with incredible force. Our brains process spatial relationships and trajectories instinctively. We're pattern recognition machines. In combat, this means we adapt constantly. We learn our opponent's movements and counter them. Load a standard combat opponent, Choi called out. Humanoid form, superior strength and speed. A holographic opponent appeared. It was larger than Choi, faster, stronger. By any physical measure, it should dominate the fight. The simulation began. The opponent rushed forward with mechanical precision, throwing a powerful strike. Choi didn't meet force with force. She moved at the last moment, redirecting the strike past her body. Her counter was immediate, striking at joints and vulnerable points. The opponent adapted, but so did Choi. Every exchange showed the same pattern. The opponent was stronger and faster, but Choi was more creative. She used the environment, grabbed a loose piece of equipment and used it as a weapon, swept the opponent's legs when it overcommitted, struck at eyes and throat with precise targeting. Within 3 minutes, the holographic opponent was disabled, flickering on the ground. Humans are adaptable fighters, Dr. Lee explained. We don't have claws or fangs, so we learn to use everything as a weapon. A rock, a stick, our own environment. We turn every disadvantage into strategy. Now, Choi said, breathing only slightly harder, let me show you how humans evolved this into organized warfare. Dr. Song took over the presentation. The walls showed ancient battlefields, humans in primitive armor, working together with terrifying coordination. Humans discovered something early in our history. Individual hunting tactics work even better when applied to war. We coordinate, we plan. We execute complex strategies involving hundreds or thousands of individuals. The images progressed through time. Stone Age tribes with spears working as units, Bronze Age armies with shields and formations, medieval cavalry charges, modern military forces with combined arms tactics. Every advance in human warfare came from applying hunting principles, Dr. Song continued. Surround the prey, cut off escape routes, strike from multiple directions, pursue until the enemy breaks. Velketh's suit made disturbed noises. But these are images of humans fighting humans. You said the worst prey you hunted was yourselves. Ambassador Park stood slowly. Yes. For most of our history, humans were divided into competing groups, tribes, nations, empires. We fought each other constantly. And because we were fighting other persistence hunters, other strategic thinkers, we had to become better at it. We refined violence into an art form. Hana stepped forward. Humans are the only species on Earth that regularly hunted other members of their own species. We spent hundreds of thousands of years perfecting ways to kill each other. Every human military doctrine, every weapon system, every tactical approach was developed to fight other humans. We know how to fight persistence hunters because we are persistence hunters. The presentation shifted to modern warfare. Aircraft carriers, submarines, tanks, missiles. This is human military technology, Dr. Song said. Ships that can destroy cities from beyond visual range. Weapons that can strike targets on the other side of a planet. Systems designed for one purpose: to hunt and kill other humans with maximum efficiency. The viewing area had become deathly quiet. Security forces gripped their weapons tighter. Several arbiters had moved back from the transparent barrier. And then, Ambassador Park said quietly, "We developed nuclear weapons." The display showed mushroom clouds. Cities turned to ash in seconds. Weapons capable of destroying all life on Earth, he continued. "We built thousands of them, aimed them at each other, came within minutes of using them on multiple occasions. For decades, humanity lived under the threat of self-extinction." A military advisor from a predator species stood abruptly. "This is madness. You created weapons that could end your species, and then built more of them. What kind of predator threatens its own survival?" "The kind that views other humans as the ultimate threat," Dr. Lee said. "We understood each other too well. We knew every strategy, every tactic because we all thought the same way. So we escalated, each side trying to gain advantage, each side preparing to hunt the other to extinction if necessary." "Then what stopped you?" Velketh asked, their voice shaking with emotion. "What prevented humanity from destroying itself?" Ambassador Park looked directly at the Arbiter. "We chose not to. That's the only answer. We stood at the edge of extinction and chose to step back. We realized that our hunting instincts turned against ourselves would end us, so we decided to redirect those instincts outward." "Toward what?" the Sandpillar Arbiter asked. "Toward the stars," Hana said. "We chose to hunt new worlds instead of each other, to pursue knowledge instead of dominance, to compete in achievement instead of combat. It wasn't easy. We still have conflicts. We still struggle with our nature. But we made a collective choice as a species. We chose to become more than just predators." Specialist Choi moved to stand beside her colleagues. "Every human alive today makes that choice every day. Billions of us, all descended from apex predators, all carrying those instincts, choosing cooperation over conflict, choosing to build instead of destroy. That's what makes us different from the animals we evolved from. But the capability remains," the Sphere Arbiter said coldly. "You have demonstrated that humans are efficient killers, that you refined violence through countless wars, that you developed weapons of mass destruction, and now you ask us to trust that you'll simply choose not to use these capabilities against us?" "Yes," Ambassador Park said. "Because trust has to start somewhere. We've shown you everything, the good and the terrible. We're not hiding our nature. Humans are apex predators who learn to choose cooperation. We're offering that choice to you now." Dr. Song added, "Consider this. Human military forces are highly trained and incredibly effective, but they're also under strict civilian control. We've built systems to restrain our own capability for violence. We don't trust ourselves entirely either, so we created laws, oversight, accountability. We channeled our hunting instincts into protection instead of predation." Velketh stood and paced within their environmental suit. "The Council must deliberate. What you've shown us is unprecedented. Humans are perhaps the most dangerous species we've ever encountered. Not because of your weapons, but because of your nature. Persistence hunters who never give up. Strategic thinkers who adapt to any challenge. And most disturbing, you're predators who learn to prey upon yourselves, making you experts in hunting other intelligent beings." The Arbiter turned to face the human delegation. "But you also claim to have chosen a different path. To have redirected these instincts toward cooperation and exploration. The question before the Council is whether we believe this choice is real and permanent, or whether humanity's predatory nature will eventually resurface, making you a threat to every species in this galaxy." Ambassador Park nodded slowly. "That's a fair assessment. We can't prove our intentions beyond showing you our history and our actions. But I'll say this. Every species in this council once feared something. You all developed intelligence to survive threats. Humans are the threat that learned to threaten itself, and we survived that. If we can choose not to destroy ourselves, we can choose not to harm you." Hana stepped forward. "We're not asking you to trust blindly. We're asking for a chance. Let us prove that our choice is genuine. Let us show you that apex predators can be valuable allies instead of threats. Because the truth is, the galaxy might need hunters, just ones who choose their targets carefully." The council chamber fell silent as the arbiters exchanged glances. Finally, Velketh spoke. "We will deliberate. The fate of Earth's application will be decided within one standard day. Until then, the human delegation will remain in their quarters under guard, not as prisoners but as protection, for you and for us." The crystalline chamber stretched upward like a frozen waterfall, its walls reflecting the light of 1,000 distant stars. Lieutenant Hana Kim stood perfectly still, her hands clasped behind her back, watching the alien representatives fill the massive viewing galleries above. She had practiced this moment in her mind 100 times, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of it. Beside her, Ambassador Doyen Park adjusted his collar for the third time. At 58 years old, he had negotiated trade deals with 15 countries back on Earth, but this was different. This was humanity's first real chance to join something bigger than themselves. Dr. Mira Song stood on Hana's other side, her face calm, but her fingers drumming silently against her tablet. Behind them, Specialist Jiho Choi and Dr. Hyun Lee waited in their formal uniforms, representing the military and medical branches of Earth's delegation. The 7 council arbiters sat on floating platforms at the center of the chamber. Their forms were strange and varied. One looked like living water contained in a transparent suit. Another resembled a mass of crystalline branches that pulsed with internal light. The lead arbiter, Velketh, belonged to a methane-breathing species. Their bulky environmental suit gave them an imposing presence, but their voice, when translated through the chamber's systems, sounded surprisingly gentle. "Welcome, representatives of Earth," Velketh said. "We have reviewed your preliminary data. Your planet is remarkable. Such diversity of life, such extremes of climate and terrain." Ambassador Park bowed slightly. "Thank you, Arbiter. We are honored to present Earth for consideration." The presentation began smoothly. Dr. Song displayed holographic images of Earth's ecosystems. Rainforests teemed with life. Coral reefs exploded with color. Mountain ranges pierced through clouds. The alien observers made soft sounds of appreciation. Everything was going according to plan. Then the images shifted to Earth's animals. A tiger prowled through tall grass. A bear caught salmon from a rushing river. A great white shark glided through dark water. A crocodile's jaws snapped shut with terrible speed. The gallery fell quiet, watching these creatures with obvious interest. Velketh leaned forward. "Impressive specimens. Your world breeds powerful creatures. This is the standard question we ask all applicant species. It helps us understand your planet's ecological dynamics." The arbiter gestured at the floating images. "Which of these magnificent beings is your world's apex predator?" The question hung in the air. Hana felt Ambassador Park tense beside her. They had discussed this moment extensively during the journey to the council station. There were 2 ways to answer. The diplomatic way, where they dodged the truth with technical explanations. Or the honest way. Hana made her choice. She stepped forward, her boots clicking softly on the crystal floor. Every eye in the chamber turned to her. Hundreds of alien faces, some with multiple eyes, some with none at all, focused their attention on the young human lieutenant. She raised her right hand, not in greeting, not in a salute. Just held it up, palm forward, fingers spread. The chamber exploded with noise. Confused chittering, bubbling laughter, sharp clicking sounds. The translators struggled to keep up with dozens of species talking at once. "Silence," Velketh commanded, and the chamber obeyed. The arbiter studied Hana with what might have been curiosity. "I do not understand, Lieutenant Kim. You raise your hand. Is this a human gesture? Are you requesting permission to speak?" "No, Arbiter." Hana kept her hand raised. "You asked which creature is Earth's apex predator. I'm showing you." A long pause. Then Velketh's suit tilted slightly, the alien equivalent of a head tilt. "You claim that humans are your planet's apex predator?" "Yes, Arbiter." More noise from the galleries. This time it sounded less amused. One of the other arbiters, a being that looked like a collection of floating spheres, spoke up. "This is absurd. Humans are clearly prey species. You have no natural weapons. No claws, no venom. No armored hide. Your strength is modest. Your speed is unremarkable." Hana lowered her hand. "That's all true, Arbiter. Then how can you possibly claim to be apex predators?" The sphere being's voice carried clear skepticism. Ambassador Park cleared his throat. "If I may, Arbiters, my colleague is not making an idle claim. She is stating a biological fact. Humans are, and have been for hundreds of thousands of years, the apex predator of Earth." Velketh's suit made a sound like rushing wind. "You understand what apex predator means, yes? The species at the top of the food chain. The hunter with no natural predators of its own." "We understand perfectly," Dr. Song said, stepping forward. "Humans occupy that exact position on Earth. No natural predator hunts us, but we hunt everything else." A species in the gallery that resembled a large insect made rapid clicking sounds. The translator rendered it as nervous laughter. "You hunt those?" They gestured at the hologram of the tiger. "And those? The bear? And those?" "The shark, yes," Hana said simply. "We hunt all of them." The chamber fell silent again, but this time the quality of the silence was different. Less amused, more uncertain. Velketh rose from the floating platform, their suit's life support systems humming. "This is highly irregular. The Council has never encountered a sapient species that claims to be their world's apex predator. Typically, intelligence evolves in prey species as a survival mechanism. We're aware of the usual pattern," Ambassador Park said carefully. "Humans are the exception." Another arbiter, this one resembling a pillar of slowly moving sand, spoke for the first time. "If what you claim is true, you must provide evidence. Demonstrate how a creature with no natural weapons could possibly be considered an apex predator." Hana looked at Ambassador Park. He nodded slightly. This was the moment they had prepared for, but also the moment that could end humanity's chances before they truly began. "We can demonstrate," Hana said, "but I need to warn you first. Once you understand how humans hunt, you may not like the answer." Velketh's suit seemed to straighten. "The Council does not shy away from uncomfortable truths. Show us, Lieutenant Kim. Show us how humans became apex predators on a world filled with creatures stronger, faster, and more naturally armed than yourselves." Dr. Song tapped her tablet. "We'll need access to your simulation facilities. The demonstration will take several hours." "Hours?" The sphere arbiter sounded surprised. "What kind of demonstration takes hours?" Hana smiled, and several aliens in the gallery flinched at the expression. Humans showing their teeth was still new to them. "The kind that explains everything," she said. "In nature, the hunt isn't won by the fastest or the strongest. Sometimes it's won by the one who simply refuses to stop." The Council arbiters exchanged glances, their various forms of communication creating a brief symphony of lights, sounds, and movements. Finally, Velketh gestured toward the chamber's exit. "Very well. We will adjourn to the simulation facility. This should prove educational." The Council chamber felt different when they returned. Security forces from various species lined the walls now, their weapons clearly visible. The gallery was fuller than before, packed with representatives who had heard about the demonstration. Many of them looked at the human delegation with new eyes. Wary eyes. Dr. Song stood at the central display, her hands steady on the controls despite the tension in the room. Ambassador Park sat with the arbiters, his weathered face showing the strain of the past few hours. Hana, Specialist Choi, and Dr. Lee stood slightly behind, a united front. "You have shown us your hunting method," Velketh said. "Now explain what you meant about Earth's other predators." "What happened to them?" Dr. Song touched her display. The chamber walls came alive with images, maps of Earth glowing with data. "This is a timeline of human expansion across our planet," she said. "Starting from Africa approximately 300,000 years ago." The map showed Africa in red. Then slowly the red began to spread. Up into Europe, across Asia, down through islands into Australia, across a land bridge into the Americas. "Wherever humans went," Dr. Song continued, her voice quiet but clear, "something else happened. New images appeared. Massive animals, creatures that dwarfed modern elephants. These are called megafauna. Giant mammals that dominated Earth's continents. Mammoths in the north, ground sloths as tall as trees in the Americas. Marsupial lions in Australia. Giant bears twice the size of modern ones in Europe. The images were beautiful and terrible. Creatures of immense power equipped with tusks, claws, teeth like daggers. The aliens watched in fascination. "Where are they now?" the Sandpillar Arbiter asked. "Extinct," Dr. Song said simply. "Almost all of them. Gone within a few thousand years of humans arriving in their territories." The chamber erupted in noise. Shocked chirps, worried hums, angry clicks. Velketh raised a limb for silence. "You cannot be suggesting that humans hunted these creatures to extinction. They are enormous, powerful. Some of them were predators themselves." "We have archaeological evidence," Ambassador Park said, standing to join Dr. Song. "Butchered mammoth bones with stone tool marks. Cave paintings showing organized hunts. Kill sites where dozens of large animals died together, driven off cliffs or into traps." The display showed the evidence. Ancient bones marked and broken. Cave walls covered in paintings of humans surrounding massive beasts with spears. "Humans didn't hunt these animals alone," Dr. Song explained. We worked in groups. We planned. We used tools. A single human might not defeat a mammoth, but 10 humans with spears and fire could. And we were persistent, Hana added. We could track a wounded mammoth for days, wait for it to weaken, then move in for the kill. But surely, the Sphere Arbiter protested, some of these animals were too dangerous. The giant bears, the lions, surely humans avoided direct conflict with them. Ambassador Park's expression was grim. We didn't avoid them. We eliminated them. Humans don't tolerate competition well. Large predators competed with us for prey. They threatened our settlements. So we hunted them down. The display shifted to show more recent history. The pattern continues into modern times, Dr. Song said. The Caspian tiger extinct. The Barbary lion extinct. The great auk extinct. Dozens of other species gone because humans saw them as threats or resources. A prey species representative stood up, their translator device shaking with emotion. You are describing genocide. Planet-wide genocide of anything that challenged your dominance. Yes, Ambassador Park said quietly. That's exactly what it was. We're not proud of it, but we're not going to lie about it either. Dr. Lee stepped forward. But extinction wasn't the only option humans chose. We also domesticated animals. We took wild wolves and bred them into dogs. We took wild cattle and made them docile. We took wild horses and trained them to carry us. The display showed the process. Wild animals slowly changing over generations, becoming dependent on humans. This might sound gentler, Dr. Lee continued, but think about what it really means. We took other species and changed them at the genetic level. We made them serve us. We removed their wildness. In some ways, it's more complete domination than simple extinction. The viewing area had become very quiet. Several species were slowly backing away from the railings, as if the humans might suddenly turn predatory eyes on them. Velketh's suit hummed with increased life support activity, a sign of agitation. Let me understand this completely. Humans emerged from Africa as relatively weak creatures, yet within a few tens of thousands of years, you had spread across your entire planet. Everywhere you went, the largest and most dangerous animals vanished. The ones you didn't kill, you enslaved through breeding. You reshaped your entire world's ecosystem to suit yourselves. That's an accurate summary, Ambassador Park confirmed. By the time humans developed agriculture and civilization, we had already established ourselves as the only apex predator that mattered. Everything else either served us, avoided us, or died. And you still hunt, Specialist Choi added. Even now, when we don't need to for survival. Humans hunt for sport, for recreation. We enjoy it. It's still in our nature. A reptilian delegate rose from their seat. This council was established to promote peace and cooperation among species. How can we possibly admit a species that naturally eliminates or enslaves anything that challenges them? You are describing a threat to every other species in this galaxy. Angry agreement rippled through the gallery. Several delegates began shouting at once. Security forces moved closer to the human delegation. Hana noticed that some of them had aimed their weapons in their direction, no longer just standing guard. Ambassador Park held up his hands, calling for calm. I understand your fear. What we've described sounds terrifying from your perspective, but there's something important you need to know about humans. Yes, we have the instincts of apex predators. Yes, we eliminated anything that competed with us on Earth. But we also developed something else along the way. What? Velketh demanded. What could possibly balance out this history of domination and destruction? Choice, Hana said simply. We learn to choose our actions instead of just following our instincts. We're predators, yes, but we're predators who can decide not to hunt. The Sphere Arbiter made a sound of disbelief. You expect us to trust that you'll simply choose not to threaten us? That your predatory nature won't eventually surface? No, Ambassador Park said. We don't expect trust. Not yet, but consider this. Humans have had weapons capable of destroying all life on Earth for over a century. Nuclear weapons, biological weapons, chemical weapons. We could have ended our own species 100 times over. We chose not to. Dr. Song pulled up new images. Human cities bustling with billions of people. Space stations, scientific installations. We turned our hunting instincts outward, toward challenges instead of prey. We hunt knowledge now. We hunt new worlds. We hunt solutions to problems. We redirected what we are into something more productive. Velketh stood slowly. The council must deliberate. This is unlike any assessment we have ever conducted. We need time to consider whether humanity's nature makes them suitable for galactic society, or whether Earth must be designated a restricted world. There's one more thing you should see first, Specialist Choi said. You've asked about our hunting. You've seen our history with other predators, but you haven't asked about our military capabilities, how we apply these instincts in organized conflict. Several arbiters exchanged glances. The sand pillar spoke reluctantly. You're saying there's more? Much more, Ambassador Park said quietly. The most disturbing part, because the worst thing humans ever hunted wasn't mammoths or bears or any other species. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle over the chamber. The most dangerous prey humans ever hunted was other humans, and we got very, very good at it. Admiral Ji-Wan Kang stood in the command center, watching 50,000 enemy ships advance into the solar system. Every screen showed the same impossible numbers: 100 enemy vessels for every human ship. The largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, united for a single purpose: killing humanity. They're giving us time to surrender, her communication officer said, broadcasting terms of peaceful extinction. They promise it will be quick and painless. Peaceful extinction, Ji-Wan repeated. How generous of them. She looked at the faces of her command crew. Fear, yes, but also determination. Humans had faced extinction before, back when they were just clever apes on a dangerous planet. They survived ice ages, supervolcanoes, predators bigger and stronger than them. They would survive this too, or die trying. Captain Bowman Ryu stood at the tactical station. His time as a prisoner had taught him how prey empires thought. They were methodical, careful, afraid of casualties. That was their weakness. They'll advance slowly, he said, testing our defenses. They expect us to fortify Earth orbit and make a stand. We should do the opposite. Explain, Ji-Wan said. Humans are persistence hunters. We evolved to chase prey across continents, wearing them down over days. We should use the whole solar system as our hunting ground. Draw them in, make them chase us, exhaust them. Strike when they're tired and spread out. It was a desperate plan, but it was the only one they had. Ji-Wan gave the orders. Human ships scattered throughout the solar system, seeding it with mines, automated weapons platforms, and sensor networks. They broadcast fake evacuation transmissions, pretending to flee to Mars and the outer colonies. The prey empires, following their doctrine of humane warfare, granted time for the evacuation. They did not realize every evacuation ship was actually planting traps. The galaxy's empires had grown soft from 50,000 years of easy victories. They had forgotten what it meant to fight predators who used every advantage. Engineer Hyun Nam coordinated the trap network from a hidden base in the asteroid belt. He had turned hundreds of asteroids into hollow weapons platforms, each crewed by volunteers who knew they might not survive the coming battle. Prey species build civilizations, he told his team, but predators built tools for 2 million years before that. Let's show them what happens when predators have technology. The Allied fleet entered the inner solar system cautiously. 5 different prey empires, each with their own tactics and traditions, trying to coordinate an invasion. They got in each other's way, argued about formation, debated who should take point. Humans watched and learned, cataloging every disagreement, every cultural difference they could exploit. Dr. Minho Park did something unprecedented. He broadcast a message on open channels, not to military commanders but to the regular soldiers of the prey empires. He showed them the research from the Velkari prison ship, records of extinct predator civilizations, their art, their music, their poetry. He asked one simple question: how many civilizations have you murdered? How much beauty have you erased from existence? The message spread through the enemy fleet like wildfire. Young soldiers who had never questioned their orders suddenly saw images of extinct species who had written songs, painted pictures, loved their children. Species that were destroyed not for what they did, but for what they might do. 2 of the 5 empires, the younger civilizations with less rigid hierarchies, began to have doubts. Their commanders reported increasing questions from their crews. Some ships broke formation, refusing to participate in what was starting to look less like protection and more like genocide. But the Velkari Dominion and their hardline allies pressed forward. Commander Thexler, now leading the invasion force, would not be swayed by sentiment. He had seen too many predator species to believe they could be peaceful. Humans are clever, he told his officers. They use our compassion against us. Remember what they are. Remember why we do this. The enemy fleet reached Earth's orbit and found it empty. Confused, they spread out to search the system. That was when the humans struck. Asteroids that seemed dormant suddenly activated. Hidden fighters launched from inside hollow rocks. Automated platforms opened fire from 1,000 directions at once. Pilot Sora Lee led her fighter squadron in hit-and-run attacks. They did not try to win battles. They harassed, retreated, led pursuing ships into ambushes. The Vexnari fighters could pull maneuvers that would kill prey species pilots from the G-forces alone. Humans, with their endurance hunter physiology, pushed their bodies past limits the enemy could not match. "Break off pursuit," Sora called to her squadron, as enemy ships chased them into the asteroid field. She counted down silently, then pulled a hard turn that would have crushed the spine of any prey species. The enemy ships tried to follow and flew straight into the mines Hyun had planted. Explosions bloomed like flowers in space. 20 enemy ships destroyed. It was barely a dent in their forces, but it was proof that humans could fight back. More importantly, it showed the enemy that this would not be easy. Days turned into weeks. The prey empires advanced slowly through the solar system, suffering losses at every step. They were methodical and careful, exactly as Bowman predicted. But careful meant slow, and slow meant they were giving humanity time to prepare. In his cell, Nektar watched broadcasts of the battle. He saw his people fighting humans. He saw prey empires working together to exterminate a species that had done nothing except exist. He saw Whisper's memorial, built by the very predators his people insisted were incapable of compassion. He made a decision. Using communication equipment he should not have had access to, he broadcast Velkari tactical codes to human forces. Ship deployment patterns, shield frequencies, command protocols. Every secret he knew he gave to the enemy of his species. Security Chief Doyen found him transmitting. "Why?" Doyen asked, his weapon drawn but not aimed.
"Why betray your own people again?"
"Because they are wrong," Nektar said simply. His skin showed colors of sadness and determination. "I have seen humans show mercy, creativity, love. Everything we claim predators cannot feel. My people are about to commit genocide against a species that deserves to live. I cannot stop them, but I can help you survive." Doyen lowered his weapon. "You know there's no going back. You'll be hunted forever." "Some things are worth the cost," Nektar replied. "Dr. Minho taught me that when he treated my wounds instead of letting me die. Sometimes you choose what is right over what is easy." The Velkari codes changed everything. Admiral Jiwan suddenly had detailed information about enemy formations, weak points, command structures. She called an emergency meeting with all ship captains and Krixtor, who represented the other predator species fighting alongside humanity. "We have one chance," she said. "A coordinated strike against their command ship. If we take out Thexeler, the other empires might fracture. Some are already having doubts. Without strong leadership, they might withdraw. It's a suicide mission," Bowman said. "The command ship is at the center of their fleet, protected by thousands of vessels." "Then we make sure it counts," Sora said. "Every ship we have. Every fighter. Everything we've got. All or nothing." Krixtor showed his teeth in a predator's smile. "This is how my people died. In one final glorious hunt. If we must fall, let us fall like predators, not like prey cowering in corners." The order went out. Every human ship, every fighter, every automated platform, they all converged on a single point. It was not strategy. It was not tactics. It was pure predator instinct, the decision to bring down prey at any cost. The Allied fleet saw the humans coming and could not believe it. 500 ships charging straight at 50,000. It should have been the easiest victory in history. Instead, it was terrifying. The prey empires suddenly remembered ancient instincts, the fear their ancestors felt when predators charged from the darkness. Human ships broke through the first defensive line through sheer momentum. They did not try to win fights. They just pushed through, taking damage but not stopping. Sora's fighters flew suicide runs, drawing fire away from the bigger ships. Every human pilot knew they probably would not survive, and they flew harder because of it. "Why do they not retreat?" a Velkari officer asked Thexelor as they watched the humans sacrifice themselves. They could save their forces, rebuild. Why throw everything away? Thexelor understood because he had studied humans. Because they are predators. They evolved to run prey to exhaustion, to chase for days without stopping. Quitting is not in their nature. This is what makes them dangerous. Doyen led a boarding team onto Thexelor's ship. They fought through corridors, taking casualties but advancing with mechanical efficiency. Security Chief Doyen had been a soldier, a mercenary, a killer. Now he was humanity's spear driving toward the heart of the enemy. They reached the command center. Thexler stood surrounded by dead guards holding a weapon. He was old and tired, his skin showing colors of resignation. He had known this moment might come from the first day he scanned humans and got an error. "You should not exist," Thexler said. "Predators cannot build civilizations. The galaxy proved this truth across 50,000 years." "We're proof you were wrong," Doyen replied, his weapon aimed at the commander's head. One shot would end it. Would break the invasion's command structure. Would save humanity. The human delegation quarters were comfortable but clearly monitored. Large windows showed the council station's exterior, where dozens of warships from various species now maintained position. Some had their weapons powered down, others did not. The galaxy was deciding whether humanity was a friend or a threat, and they were preparing for either outcome. Ambassador Park stood at the window, his reflection showing every one of his 58 years. He had not slept since the demonstrations began. None of them had. How could they sleep while the fate of their entire species hung in balance? Hana sat at the table reviewing data on her tablet. Specialist Choi practiced controlled breathing exercises in the corner, maintaining combat readiness despite the waiting. Dr. Lee monitored news feeds from Earth, where billions watched and worried. Dr. Song stood beside Ambassador Park, equally silent. "Did we make a mistake?" Park asked quietly. "Should we have been less honest? Shown them only our peaceful side? They would have discovered the truth eventually," Dr. Song replied. "Better they hear it from us than uncover it through investigation. At least this way we controlled the narrative." "Did we, though?" Hana looked up from her tablet. "We just told the entire galactic community that humans are persistence hunters, who eliminated every competitor on our planet and spent thousands of years perfecting how to kill each other. That narrative makes us sound like monsters." "We are monsters," Choi said from her corner. "At least we can be. That's what they need to understand. We have the capacity for terrible violence. The question is whether they believe we've truly chosen to control it." Dr. Lee's tablet chimed with an incoming message. He read it, his face going pale. "Earth's defense fleet has moved into position around our solar system. They're not taking chances. If the Council decides to quarantine or attack, Earth is prepared to fight." "That's exactly the wrong message," Park said, turning from the window. "We're trying to show we're not a threat and Earth responds by mobilizing for war?" "It's human nature," Dr. Song said softly. "When cornered, we fight. It's the same instinct that made us apex predators. We don't surrender easily." A soft tone indicated someone at the door. Hana stood, her hand instinctively moving toward where a weapon would be if she were armed. Old habits. The door opened to reveal 2 council guards and a small floating drone. "The council has reached a decision," the drone announced in a neutral voice. "Your presence is requested in the main chamber immediately." The walk to the chamber felt longer than before. The station's corridors were nearly empty, most species keeping to their quarters during the deliberation. The few aliens they passed moved away quickly, pressing against walls to maintain distance from the human delegation. Fear was obvious in their body language. The council chamber was packed when they entered. Every species representative seemed to be present, filling the galleries to capacity. The 7 arbiters sat on their floating platforms, their various forms somehow unified in their gravity. Armed security forces lined every wall, a show of strength unlike anything the council typically displayed. The human delegation took their position at the center of the floor, alone, isolated. 5 humans surrounded by thousands of aliens, many of whom now saw them as potential threats. Ambassador Park kept his expression neutral, but Hana could see the tension in his shoulders. Velketh rose from their platform, the movement drawing absolute silence from the chamber. "Representatives of Earth," the arbiter began, their voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. "The Council has completed its deliberation regarding your application for membership. This has been the most difficult assessment in Council history. Never before have we encountered a species quite like humanity." The arbiter paused, and in that pause Hana felt the weight of everything. Every human who had ever lived, who had ever hunted, who had ever made the choice to build instead of destroy, all of it came down to the next words. "You have shown us things that disturb many council members," Velketh continued. "Your capacity for endurance, your history of eliminating competition, your refined ability to wage war, especially against yourselves. These revelations have caused considerable fear among our member species, particularly those who evolved as prey. Ambassador Park nodded slowly. We understand, Arbiter. We were honest about our nature because we believed you deserved the truth. And that honesty is partly why we reached the decision we did, Velketh said. The council vote was divided. 3 factions emerged during our deliberation. One faction advocated for immediate acceptance, believing humanity's choice to redirect their predatory instincts makes them valuable potential allies. Another faction called for permanent quarantine of Earth, arguing that the risk of human expansion into the galaxy is too great. A third faction suggested preemptive military action. The chamber erupted in noise, shouts of agreement and protest. Security forces moved closer as tensions rose. Hana felt her heartbeat quicken. Preemptive military action meant war. It meant Earth's defense fleet would fight, and regardless of who won, it would confirm every fear the galaxy had about humanity. Velketh raised a limb for silence. The preemptive action faction was dismissed. The council determined that attacking Earth would not only be morally wrong, but strategically foolish. Your demonstrations made clear that humans are formidable, even when not preparing for war. Attacking a species of persistence hunters who have refined warfare for thousands of years would be catastrophic for all involved. So it came down to acceptance or quarantine, the Sandpillar Arbiter added, and after extensive debate, acceptance won by a narrow margin. Hana felt her knees weaken slightly. Acceptance. They had voted for acceptance. Ambassador Park's face showed relief so profound it was almost painful to see. However, Velketh continued, and the word carried weight. Acceptance comes with conditions. Earth will be admitted to the Galactic Council on a probationary basis for 50 standard years. During this time, humanity must meet specific requirements. The Sphere Arbiter projected a list into the air. First, full transparency regarding Earth's military capabilities and defensive strategies. Second, integration of human military forces with Council peacekeeping operations. Third, mandatory cultural exchange programs to promote understanding between humans and other species. Fourth, establishment of a joint oversight committee to monitor human expansion and ensure compliance with Council regulations. Ambassador Park studied the conditions carefully. They were restrictive, certainly more demanding than conditions placed on other species. But they were also reasonable given what humanity had revealed. The Earth government will need to ratify these conditions, he said. But I believe they will accept them. We came here seeking partnership, not dominance. There is one more thing, Velketh said, and their tone shifted slightly. Something unexpected emerged during our deliberations. Multiple species have already submitted requests for human military advisors. It seems that while your predatory nature frightens many, others recognize it might be valuable. Hana blinked in surprise. Military advisors? Which species? Primarily prey species, the Sandpillar Arbiter explained. They want to learn human endurance techniques, strategic thinking, and defensive tactics. The galaxy faces threats that our typical approaches have struggled to counter. Pirates, rogue factions, entities that don't respond to our usual diplomatic solutions. Some council members believe that humanity's hunting instincts, properly directed, could help address these challenges. Dr. Song stepped forward. So you're saying the galaxy wants to learn from us? The species that terrified you hours ago? Fear and respect are not mutually exclusive, Velketh said. We fear what you could become if you chose violence, but we respect what you have become by choosing otherwise. That capacity for choice, that ability to redirect instinct through conscious decision, is perhaps more impressive than your hunting abilities. Most species are what their evolution made them. Humans chose to be more. The Arbiter moved closer to the human delegation. You asked us to trust that you would choose cooperation over conflict, that you would hunt knowledge instead of prey. We are taking that risk. But understand this. The galaxy will be watching. Every action humanity takes will be scrutinized. One misstep, one return to predatory behavior against another species, and Earth will be quarantined immediately. Can you accept these terms? Ambassador Park looked at his team. Hana nodded. Specialist Choi nodded. Dr. Lee and Dr. Song nodded. The decision was unanimous. Park turned back to the arbiters and bowed formally. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, he said, his voice steady despite the emotion beneath it, we accept these conditions. We understand the risk you're taking in accepting us. We will prove worthy of that trust. We are apex predators, yes, but we are apex predators who choose to protect rather than prey. That choice is genuine. We will show you." The chamber remained quiet for a moment. Then slowly some species began a gesture of acknowledgement. Others followed. Not celebration, not quite acceptance, but recognition. Humanity had been admitted to the galactic community. As the formal ceremony concluded and the various delegates began to leave, Velketh approached the human delegation privately. The arbiter's suit hummed with what might have been emotion.